Plus to order. Allison, will you call the roll?
Neese. Here. Merle.
Here.
Neeson.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Topliff.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. Please rise. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here this evening, we ask that you influence our hearts and minds so that we govern this city fairly and justly. And we thank you for the many blessings that you've bestowed on our community. And we ask for your continued protection upon our city staff and crews. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we'll begin with a public hearing for the transit project partially funded by the Missouri Highway and Transportation Department.
Afternoon, everybody.
Oh, how you doing?
I am great. How are you?
Great, man.
Good. As you all know, we get grants every year from MoDOT and federal grants too, to run the transit department. Last year, we applied for 221,000 federal money. This year, they've changed it and they're asking us to apply for 2-year grants instead of 1-year grant, which will be better on us. We're putting in for 451,000. And the grant is going to pay 228,000 of that. So with our income from the ridership, we'll pay the other half of that. And then we put in for capital funds for new benches, signs, and covered bus stops. We put in for $134,600, and they will pay 80% of that. So the city's part will be $26,920.
Is that going to be expanding the number of stops you have currently?
No, it's going to be upgrading some of the stops
Once
we've
we
got.
have-
We've got some where we're needing some covered stops. We're going to
Yeah.
add 2 covered stops over the next 2 years
Okay,
and at least 4 benches at some of the stops that don't have benches
Right.
and some signage.
okay. Thank you, Mike. Is there any anyone that wishes to speak on this subject? All right. No business, no more input. We'll close the public hearing and move along.
Let's start with the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the items as listed and presented to the council on the consent agenda.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Since we have no guests today, we'll go on to ordinances. Bill 4744 to become ordinance 4744, second reading. An ordinance by the city of West Plains, Missouri to amend and replace the following existing section of the city code, chapter 28, offenses, article 3, offenses against public health and safety, section 28-77, rockets, missiles, and projectiles.
Mayor, I make a motion that Bill 4744 become ordinance 4744 on the second reading.
Second.
Hello, chief.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
This is just the ordinance. The only thing we changed was the part of going to city council is just going to the chief of police. So a report could be made, an officer can go out, make sure it's safe and approve it with a permit. So that's the major change in that ordinance.
Okay.
We've had no responses from the public in regards to the ordinance.
Kind of streamlines the whole permit things. Any other discussion? Allison?
Neese. Yes. Merle.
Yes.
Neeson.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Bill 4745 to become ordinance 4745, second reading. An ordinance by the city of West Plains, Missouri to add the following section to the city code. Chapter 28, offenses, article 3, offenses against public health and safety, section 28-83, discharge of firearms.
Mayor, I recommend that we I'll make a motion to approve Bill 4745 becoming ordinance 4745 on the second reading. I second.
Okay.
This ordinance is requested for the main purposes. In the past, we've had to refer to the state statute for improper use of weapons, which is a pretty serious charge. So we needed a city ordinance to cover the normal everyday things we run into with people intoxicated, may go out and shoot up in the air or things like that. There's also a small portion of that if someone wants to use a firearm to destroy nuisance animals, they can apply for a permit through that as well. But that would take a much higher degree of safety that would be looked at. So
No further discussion. Allison?
Bill 4745 to become ordinance 4745, second reading. Nice,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Bill 4746 to become ordinance 4746, second reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri to amend and replace 4 sections of city code. Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages, section 4-20 approval of application. Section 4-23A sale on premises of charitable, fraternal, religious, service, or veterans organizations. Section 4-29 issuance and 4-41 prerequisites for renewal.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that Bill 4746 become ordinance 4746 on the second reading.
Second.
Sam, did you want to elaborate on this or?
Yeah, just as a reminder, this bill, if approved, would allow the city clerk or city administrator to actually grant the liquor licenses. You'll recall, we had an incident several months ago with a business that was unable to sell products because they did not have an updated city liquor license. And so this process, since we meet once a month, and that incident kind of fell right after that meeting, that potential business was impacted. So in accordance with our code, we went ahead and recommended that we make this change. The city attorneys reviewed the information and drafted the ordinance for you this evening. We haven't received any public comment since the first reading at our last meeting. So we're happy to answer any questions, but ready to proceed if you are.
Okay, well. Allison?
Bill 4746 to become ordinance 4746, second reading. Nice,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. Resolution 2023-24. A resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri in support for the proposed Thayer Heights housing development.
Mayor, make a motion resolution 2023-24 be approved.
Second.
Hello, Dustin.
Mayor, council, good evening. This is just a request from Thayer Heights. It used to be the old Seminole Apartments on Thayer Avenue for a grant application for revitalization funds to do upgrades to the building.
Looking over the plans, that looks like it's going to be a good project.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution 2023-25, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri to approve a memorandum of understanding regarding the loan of bound and box copies of the West Plains Daily Quill to the West Plains Public Library.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion resolution 2023-25 be approved. I second.
Hey, welcome to our.
Hi,
your
thank
first
you.
one with us.
Thank you. I thought I'd come up in case there were any questions or concerns about the memorandum of understanding about the quills.
So these are old quills that are at the paper that you will be loaned.
That's right. So the university in town, of course, has the Ozark Heritage Research Center.
Right.
They are seeking to have every bound copy of the quill that's in the city currently. The library has all of those copies. The university is seeking copies from 1940 through the 1990s. We have them all on microfilm as well. We simply are out of space. Really don't have the resources to make sure that they stay intact. Some of them are beginning to fall apart. The university will have an archivist and have climate control facilities to keep these copies. I simply want to make sure, and speaking with Todd and with Mr. Cantrell and Ray Williams, who helped us to draft this, that the copies simply stay in West Plains. that they
Yeah.
would be on loan to the university. They couldn't leave the city of West Plains. The public would still have access to them if they want to see them. I just want to make sure that treasure stays home and doesn't go anywhere else. And that's what this would
Good
serve.
plan. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Resolution 2023-26, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the participation in Missouri's Highway Safety Program through the Missouri Department of Transportation.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, resolution 2023-26 be approved.
Second.
Okay. And that's what Mike was just
Yep,
talking
this is
about.
the resolution that we just had that public hearing on. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
No questions appearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-27, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri to approve an engineering agreement with Burns and McDonnell for wastewater treatment facility Phase 1 improvements.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, resolution 2023-27 be approved. I second.
Hey, Shane.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is just agreement for the engineering for phase 1 of the upgrades of a wastewater plant with Burns McDonnell. We went through the applications and everything, and they were the best fit for what we were needing down there.
I know
This is-
we have a good history with them.
Yes.
The work they do and everything. Any other discussion? All those in favor say flush.
I see you're referring to our ARPA dollars.
Upstream.
Next, we have council action.
I believe, Sam, this is the mayor's appointment. We'll be setting up an interim airport board. And I'm appointing Jacob Garrett, John Reed, Mark Dake, and John Neeson to serve as the council to be on this board. You want to? Sure. Tell
I'll
the,
give you a little bit of background and then Brian or Charles can fill you in and answer some questions, but we've met with Jacob Garrett, who is a tenant, along with the other individuals on this list out at our airport. Just to talk about some plans that we have in the near future and perhaps distant future regarding fencing, some airport or some runway extensions and some other projects. And Councilmember Neeson and I have talked in the past about the idea of getting a group of the airport tenants together. So I think piggybacking along with the conversation that Brian and our city attorney have had with Mr. Garrett specifically, the thought was, let's go ahead and create this board. So what we would be doing tonight with your approval is name that interim board, give city attorney Cantrell some time to draft an ordinance that would actually set about some bylaws on what the advisory board, what their duties and responsibilities would be, and then bring that to you in future meetings. So gentlemen, you can chime in if I missed anything.
I don't know if you had anything to add. It's just about that. I mean, we've
Yeah.
talked about it since I've been up there. We've talked about it a few times. John and I have we've talked about it several times. And we, kind of until this point, we were trying to just keep tenants up on information, trying to get a little communication going with them and stuff, but it's probably time to get a group together and sit down so that they can be, be advised of a lot of things and have some ideas or, get some help with planning and stuff, which has happened in the past, but it's been a little different in the past. So
yeah,
want to kind of change that.
okay.
That's right. And we have, I think it's chapter 50. I'm not sure, but there's a chapter in the ordinances that creates several city boards. And I was a little bit surprised to see that there was not one for the airport, but this will not be a large, complicated ordinance. This will just be similar to the ordinances we have for the civic center and some of the other boards.
What is the primary advantage to having that? Is what I'm looking at is that if we have this board, will that, and that board helps present short and long-term plans, is that going to help us be competitive in like grant applications for additional funding?
I don't know if there's any advantage to that. I personally don't know that. I mean, they might know it through programming and through the Parks and Rec, through what they've done there, but I'm not sure.
Well, I think Johnny, the primary or one of the advantages would just give some of the local pilots a voice at the tables to give them an opportunity to give input to the city and to Brian. They understand, we all understand this is an advisory board. There are a couple of projects that we already know they're going to be pushing for, one of them being a fence to keep deer off the runway. And at some point, to get the grant money, we've applied for that grant. I suspect it will also be helpful to turn to some of our state and federal representatives. And I think the more voices we have talking to them, the better. And I think we have a relatively small number for the board and also people who can be effective along with the city, just advocating for needs at the airport. And it'll keep them in the loop and let them know that we really are trying to work and improve the airport.
Thank you.
But there's no objections, then I'll appoint these 4 members. Thank you.
Next, we have the city administrators report.
Thank you and good evening again, everybody. Just a couple of reminders. Budget work session will take place next Tuesday evening, 5:30, same place, same time as we're meeting this evening, just a different day. But we're looking forward to presenting you with some information and some options. We also have penciled in the following night. I don't know that we'll need that. But if we need to meet on Wednesday, we can certainly be available to do so. But we'll have that budget work session next Tuesday. And then you heard the resolution earlier from Thayer Heights. I just wanted to give you an update on the Garner Villas project, which is another MHDC funded project. They are in the process. We've reviewed site plans and permits are ready to be issued for that project. So you'll actually maybe start to see some dirt turning out there in that site here before too long. So excited to see that project go up. The first one I think is what 45 senior housing units. And then they of course came to the meeting last month to apply for additional funding for another 45 units that would be built further south of that. But it's exciting to see that project actually potentially breaking ground. So that's really all I have for you this evening. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
All right. Well, no further business. May God bless. We are adjourned.